In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, fellas. Welcome to The Greater Good. My name's Tony.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the channel where we come up with creative ideas, thoughts, and share suggestions and advice to help people improve their lives and join in becoming part of the greater good.
Let's dive in.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Greater Good. I'm your host, Tony, along with my brother co-host, Joe. And we are ready to share with you some amazing thoughts, insights, and advice to help you on your journey to the greater good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, we are here, and it has been quite the journey so far. I want to thank you all again for following along with us and taking the time to reflect and build upon your greater good. Recap again, as we always do. If you've been following, this is now episode 8. And so far we've discussed what the greater good is, ways to overcome the obstacles, your purpose and defining it. We talked about the importance of gratitude along the path. We talked about doing a self-diagnostic test before you get in the driver's seat and start the engine of the car, which was a great episode. If you missed that one, go back. It's episode 5. We also talked about toolkits and things that you want to bring with you along the path. And then last week, we discussed about the importance of really cultivating the mindset and having your mindset ready as you start the path. So today we are going to dive into core habits that you can start to acquire as you begin the path. And there's certain things that you want to be able to just get into that don't really take maximum effort, but are some things that you can start to apply to help you along the journey that are going to be fundamental as you grow and travel along the path to your greater good. So as we were discussing off camera, we have been kind of going with a few different analogies. One is the idea of the vehicle, and having everything prepared to hop in the vehicle and to take you along the journey there. And kind of the second one is the reference of kind of seeing it as a game in a way. I mentioned in the first episode that part of it is like thinking of it as kind of a mission, like you got to go towards the greater good because that's your mission in life there. So it's like, as we thought about that kind of analogy, it was like, all right, well, how, like, you don't just get all, if you're thinking like Mario, for example, you don't just get all the tools right there and like everything on level 1, you kind of got to go through and kind of find out for yourself what works. Like, can you jump on the Goomba's head? Can you break the block? What does this mushroom do when you discover the mushroom? Like tunnels, like going through that. So it's like little bits and pieces that you kind of start to acquire over time, but you're really like feeling it out for yourself. Like there's no kind of map that comes up at the beginning of Mario and tells you like mushrooms will make you bigger, Goombas will hurt you, but you can jump on their heads. Like it's just, you kind of just go through the motions and figure it out. And that's how it's going to be as you travel along. So we thought today that we would touch on some of these core habits and really kind of like tie it in to give you a frame of reference if you understand Mario and understand video games, so you can really kind of make that connection. So Joe, why don't you kick us off? I know you really kind of had that thought about the video games and certain things that you could acquire and like levels of build up to it. So why don't you share with us some of those core habits and ways that people can tie it in and make the connection to the video game?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for that introduction. We've been covering a lot of ground, but we're trying to be as thorough as possible because, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people get derailed, and for me personally, that's been a big struggle too. It's so much more tempting, or I don't know if rewarding is the word, to just jump into to kind of watch YouTube or Netflix binge the latest series, or kind of jump into the whatever Candy Crush or video game that you like to play, and yeah,
I was
and
watching
so
Lies.
yeah, I mean, you're getting all these like dopamine drops, and like especially the video games is something that I get hooked on, and it's just these little like mechanics that kind of keep you going in and keep you hooked. And so I've been thinking of like how do I how could be a way that we could like kind of hack our brain or use the these mechanics to get us on the right habits, the things that work for us. And so I've been thinking a lot more and more about gamification. And you're right, you mentioned it all the way back in episode 1, and I've seen it like in a couple of videos that I've been watching on YouTube and stuff like that. And I think that it is important to reward yourself. And so when Tony and I were talking off camera um, about this episode and about what we're talking about now, we kind of came up with this idea that, going back to the Mario reference, you mentioned in the first episode that you want your greater good, or your is your princess. And in Mario, like the original Mario, like you see the princess on screen, and then the Bowser takes it away, and then like Toad comes and says something like, "Oh, Bowser's taken the princess. Go and rescue her." And that's it. That's all you hear about it. So you're not constantly focused on the greater good, or you're not constantly focused on the princess when you're going through the game. You're learning the game, and you're getting through the game, and you're
Experience.
getting better and getting stronger. You're gaining experience, and you're kind of you're doing a bit of trial and error, and seeing what works. You die, and you just restart and keep going. You don't give up, right? Um, but like the game progressively gets more difficult, but it also sets you up to progressively become more capable to handle that increased difficulties. If you were to jump to level 18 where the princess actually is, you would fail like in the first 10 seconds, and you'd be like, and you would say, this is impossible. There's no way to beat this game, right? But no, they don't do that to you. They give you level 1, which is pretty linear, pretty straightforward, and you learn one thing about the game's mechanics. Like Tony said, you kind of figure out pretty quickly that, oh wow, that mushroom gives me it grows, lets me get bigger, and it gives me an extra hit before I die, or something like that, and then that's it, right? So I thought that this is something that we should approach instituting core habits with, right? We shouldn't focus on trying to change our lives like so drastically that we're jumping to level 18 and we're giving up because we feel like it's impossible, right? And I think that a lot of people do that. I think that I try to do that. I get impatient. I know that I want to change. I'm frustrated with the same, mistakes that I've been making, or ruts that I'm falling into, and I just want to do a complete 180 and turn around. And so I try to take on so many things, and you can shoulder your way through it for so long before you kind of collapse and just revert back to what you've been doing. But I feel like if you take it step by step and integrate it, gradually into your life, then it's going to have a more lasting and permanent effect. So kind of what Tony and I decided was that you should structure your habit building, your core habit building, like a video game, and you should focus on integrating one new mechanic or one new habit into your life at a time. Um, and I kind of got into the whole idea of, I think it was Mario 3. I don't want to get too much into the video game analogy for people that haven't played the games, but in Mario 3 they introduced the idea of worlds. So you had like World 1 and World 2, World 3, but each world had, 8 levels to it or whatever like that. So I think that we can also introduce that. So if we tie into episode 3, I believe it was, when we started to talk about, what habits we should be aware of, what we should do to get ready for growing ourselves. We kind of broke down that you have mind, body, and soul. So I think that we can kind of distill what's important in this episode. We can kind of give you some suggestions, but again, this should be personalized to you. But we can distill each world to be kind of one element of the mind, the body, and the soul. And I do want to talk about that a little bit further. But Tony, do you want to expand on kind of that idea and what we were going there with that?
Yeah, and it's so great when you think about it like that, because it makes it more enjoyable too. I think a lot of the trap is, as you mentioned, is when people get caught up in, like, they know the greater good and they just want to get there as soon as possible. But like, the video games do a great job of like having you just focus on one thing at a time, and like, the ultimate goal is to try and reach there, but there's no really shortcut to get there. So it's like, it just keeps your focus on that. And I think that when you approach it like that and you really try to just enjoy the journey, enjoy the growth, and see, what the next thing is and what the next stage brings, I think it makes it a lot more attainable, and I think it makes it a lot more of a life worth living, in a way where you're growing every day. Even if you're stuck on a level and you can't get past a certain point, and you're like, oh man, why can't I just make that long jump, across the goalie or whatever. You're still trying to figure a way to push on and to go on, and maybe reflecting back, as we mentioned, like, that's where the journaling comes in. That's a core foundation that you want to create. It's like, all right, what knowledge do I already have that will allow me to get past this thing that I'm struggling with right now. So yeah, I mean, and as you mentioned, looking in each different area, and some things that, like, all right, what would level 1 for health look like? What would level 1 for soul look like? And what would level 1 for mind look like? I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, depending on where you're at. Like, you might be a little bit more advanced. Maybe you already incorporate daily meditation, which is great. So you're practicing that. But then there's certain areas where you just want to be able to cultivate these things and have them at your disposal in each one of these areas. You ready? Should we get into some of the examples that we have for each of the areas, Joe, or did you have some wrapping up comments about the analogy of the video game?
No, I think I mean, you're right. I think it is more enjoyable if you think about it like a game. I think it's more lasting. Again, most games, when you're in it, like once you get started, you're not thinking of why you are even playing, like what the end goal is. You're enjoying each stage and you're kind of challenging yourself. Like, when I play Mario, I'm not thinking, oh, I gotta save the princess. I gotta save the prince. Like, so you do have that goal, and that's the reward. But that's not your driving force. The driving force should be growing and curiosity. And so that I think that we should kind of treat our growth as kind of a challenge and as something that we're curious and something that we're excited to do. Saving the princess is the ultimate goal, but reaching that flag for each one at the end and getting the little fireworks going off each time you reach the flag, yeah, exactly, are the sub goals. So we're going to set these flags today. We can talk again. Each episode this comes up, but we do need to reiterate that everybody's on their own personal path and has experienced unique circumstances. So what works for us and what we lay out today, you're going to take it and you're going to kind of run it through the filter of your own spectrum, and you can kind of pick and choose what works for you. We're just kind of setting up a template, so to speak, that you can use, that is a tool for you to use to kind of make permanent lasting changes, not just kind of trying to fight against your nature and revert back to what hasn't been working. We want this to be something that is a lifelong change, and that's why we're setting it up this way. So yeah, we can knock it out, and I think that what can help people decide what works for them and what doesn't work for them is going back to what we talked about in the episode when we were talking about taking a self-diagnostic test and looking at how you scored and seeing what areas you need to improve, because those are probably, you want to be pretty well rounded. If you're doing well in something, yeah, you can pick that up, and that could be a good booster. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to do something that I'm not doing so well, so that I can kind of use that as like this new skill for the next level, right? That I can challenge. So you can kind of jump in anywhere you want. You know yourself and what you're ready for. But we can get into our thoughts. So, Tony, you're up, man. What are your goals that you've outlined? I mean, your core habits that you think are important to consider.
Yeah, so I try to, go as basic as possible. And it was funny. I know we had one of the things we had also discussed, um, offline was like you're kind of like you're creating Mario, like you're defining who Mario is as yourself, like you're growing that character. And we did touch a little bit on alter ego, which is goes kind of hand in hand there. So it's like, all right, what are some core things that you as a Mario would need to have there, and start off with health set. Health set, I put something as easy as drinking more water a day, like and being conscious about it. Like I'm gonna have 8 ounces of water or 6 to 8 ounces of water before I go to bed, and then I'm gonna have another 6 to 8 ounces when I wake up. So the day is water, and then I'm gonna put a glass of water on my nightstand, and I'm gonna have that as soon as I wake up, and just have that. Like it's an easy thing. Yeah, there you go. That you can really that's gonna have something simple that's gonna have a really drastic effect and a lasting effect. Or you like, I think I forget the stat, and there's something that we could post down below, but like majority of people are walking around dehydrated, throughout the day, and it affects like it's something like your brain needs that. Like your brain is taking up the most energy, and it needs more water and hydration to be effective. Um, so water, drinking more water and being really conscious about it. Not going crazy, but like I think just making sure you have starting the day with a glass of water. Like I know for me personally, I fill mine up to about 20 ounces, and I do the 20 ounces 20 minutes. I actually forget where I heard this, but it was something like you want to drink 20 ounces of water in the morning and then wait 20 minutes before you have anything else, like whether it's a cup of coffee or your breakfast. And kind of let that sit in there and nourish you. So that's what I had as far as health. And then on the mindset, something that's going to bring awareness and clarity and focus to you, that I thought was like simple that you can incorporate, was using your opposite, your non-dominant hand for simple activities like brushing your teeth. The one I do is tying my shoes. I make every time I drive to work, I have to, my driving shoes or the shoes I wear to work are like slip-ons. Then the boots I have to put on at work, I make sure that I use my left hand to tie the shoe. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's not always the best, but now that I've been doing it for the last month or so, it's getting a lot simpler. But it does bring that cross connection of left brain, right brain hemisphere into play, which is also again really important for the mind and the growth of making new connections. And then for the soul set, and it's one that we mentioned before and had a whole episode, was journaling. I mean, journaling and meditating were the two I thought for soul set that are really going to be, you know, it doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or energy, and it's going to have a lot of powerful impact for you. Um, you know, uh, I think people, as far as the meditation, I did kind of put like a little asterisk with that. Like that, people give up on that one a little too easy, and they think like, oh, I just can't meditate or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
just taking quiet time. Like,
Hmm.
and I use a mantra meditation, something that's like, all right, once you catch yourself thinking of like the things that happen throughout the day or the things that you need to get done, once you're like aware of that, like bring it back to the center of the mantra. And I feel like that helps in a way because your mind is wired to already go to these different places there, and distract you from your purpose, or your reaching the Bowser. You got to see those as like a Goomba, and
Hmm.
or those fire plants shooting fireballs at you. It's like you're being bombarded with thoughts, so it's like you got to like figure out a way to help you stay the course, and I think meditation does bring in that focus. And I mean, I've been meditating for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years, and I mean, I still get distracted. Sometimes it's like I went the whole 20 minutes. I was like, oh man, I didn't connect at all. And other days, like I feel like I go the whole 20 minutes and was fully connected. So it's like unless you're a Tibetan monk, I think there's always going to be type of
Hmm.
distractions involved there. But it's one of those things where it's like you gotta stick with it, and it improve it over time, and not get down on yourself if you do have those times where you let your mind wander all over the place, and just realize that that's what the mind does. But yeah, those are my core habits that I feel for myself. It's a good starting point, and it's able to expand in each of those. And then it doesn't take that much of like real, like, oh man, I need so much willpower to do these things, to improve myself. Like, that was the case, like going back to the video now, like if Mario had to like do everything just to get a mushroom to level up, like it would be a difficult game, and you probably would give up. But like, you're getting that mushroom within the first, like, what is it, 8 seconds of the the
Yeah.
board there. So you're discovering that early on. So it's it's one of those things where you want to kind of like use these foundational habits to use them to get some momentum to build you up on your first stretch of the journey here. And what'd you come up with, Joe?
You just made me think of another
Analogy.
classic classic video game that was one of my favorites. Because I mean, Mario's timeless, but for me, it's Zelda, the original
Oh,
Zelda. Yeah. And when you were talking about the heart points, the health points, I thought about heart points. With Zelda, you start off with 3 hearts, and it's really easy to lose those if you're reckless, right? And you're just
yeah,
charging full in. But if you kind of take your time and you know pace yourself, then you beat the first dungeon, you get another heart, and then you have a little bit more endurance. But that comes
yeah,
from growth. But But just like Mario, you're getting that mushroom in the first 10 seconds of the game. Zelda, you walk into that first cave and the old man gives you a sword, right? You could go without the sword if you want added challenge, but you know, you're arming yourself, and you get different weapons that help you make your challenge your enemies less of a threat, and you're also building endurance so that you can last longer when you do meet those bigger threats, right? And so that's what we're looking into today. For me, obviously, we're going to be looking at a lot of the same stuff. As far as level 1 for health goes, I would say that you got to get your sleep right. Like you need your energy. And throughout the day, because your energy, if you're physically drained, if you're starting off your day like saying, oh, I'm so tired, and that's how you're getting out of bed, then your willpower and your decision making you're already depleted. You're giving yourself a disadvantage going into this fight, and you're gonna make bad decisions. You might be able to will yourself through the first couple rounds and take those first couple of hits, but you're going to be worn out, and by the time you finish work and you're done, you're going to be maybe making some not so great decisions, and then you're going to start that cycle again, and then you're going to come off. So getting your sleep in line is number 1 for me for World 1 for health. That's going to be World 1, level 1 is setting a bedtime. Trying to get to sleep early is going to be great, but making sure you get out of bed is going to be, with a pep. And you don't have to get the 9 hours of sleep. You're going to want to try to get whatever amount of sleep that's suitable for you, that works for you. But I think that the way that you wake up is just as important, if not maybe more. So you could get 9 hours of sleep, but if you're still waking up saying, "Oh, I don't want to get out of bed," you're already starting to have a disadvantage. But you could get 5 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep. But if you're popping out of bed saying, "Yes, all right, today's going to be a great day," you don't feel that way when you first wake up, but if you decide to feel that way, then you'll notice that your body can't tell the difference. Your mind kind of takes over and says, "Oh, we're excited about something," and you'll notice that you all of a sudden you have energy in the morning. So I think practicing that and kind of mastering that skill is going to be really helpful, because then you do have energy, and then you're more prepared to tackle other things later on in the later worlds. As far as your mind goes, I really like that use your non-dominant hand, because it does bring mindfulness into a lot of things that we kind of go in on automatic mode for, right? So that's going to be something, I think that's a really great thing to try. Another one along the same lines is trying periods of silence, like trying to go 24 hours without talking. Obviously you can't do that many days, but that's a challenge that makes you think of different ways that you can communicate. It also makes you more aware of maybe your inner monologue. It makes you listen to people a little bit more instead of thinking about what you have to say. So that would be a cool challenge. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do that every day, but you can maybe pick a day a week where you're going to not talk, or maybe pick a period of each day, for a couple hours where you're not going to talk to anybody and you're going to be silent. I think that working on distractions would be level 1 for me as far as mind goes, because you have different focus, and I'm operating in scattered focus right now, and where I want to be is directed focus. So I think that just blocking out as much time as I can. I don't want to set a number, because then if I don't make that number, then that could work against me. But if I can build, this is, again, we're building skills. So if I can build 10 minutes of directed focus on what task I'm supposed to be doing, and then I can start to maybe do 10 and a half minutes or 11 minutes, and just build upon that. My level 1 for mind is blocking out a some period of the day where I'm going to do whatever I'm doing with complete uninhibited focus. If that means locking the door and leaving the phone outside and just blocking out the rest of the world, turning off, going into airplane mode on wherever I'm at, then that's what I'm going to do until I'm know what that's like and I'm able to expand upon that, right? And then for the soul, I was going to do meditation, but you're right. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people go into it where they think, I can't do this. You know, for me, every time I try to meditate, I fall asleep. And I think that's okay, though. I think that that's better than just giving up and going to binge on YouTube or playing another round of whatever game that you have, or whatever, whatever Facebook thing that you're doing. So it's, at least you're giving your mind a break, right? But I think that meditation helps you to reflect on things. So if you can just take some sort of time where you are not doing anything and you're reflecting on how you're feeling, you're taking kind of like you're just reflecting and noticing anywhere where you're agitated or distracted, and taking time to reflect on that, and maybe you can explore it, but not judgmental. Like, okay, I'm agitated today, or I'm not happy today. I find that oftentimes when I'm not happy or when I'm agitated, if I just take a moment to realize that I'm in that state, then I can change that state. But if I'm just operating without reflecting on it, then I'm just going to go into automatic mode. That state's going to continue to go into old and feed old habits that those states generate, and those are usually not habits that I want to be exhibiting. So taking a moment to take stock of where you're at mentally, physically, and just with your stress levels is important. So those are my world. One is to get my sleep in line as far as health goes, to work on directed focus, and to take stock at some point in the day of where I'm at mentally, physically, and emotionally. Right?
It's very nice.
Yeah.
And I think those are some good core habits, man. And uh, like, you got to understand, like, it's these little things that are kind of, as you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Joe, about stopping the autopilot, of your life or your mind, like stopping that autopilot, where it just keep going. It's bringing more awareness to being able to really grow and cultivate. I mean, that's like one of the main things of the mind is cultivating that awareness more and more and more. Like, how are little ways that I can bring about more awareness to my life to be able to be more intentional with what I'm doing moment to moment. That's part of the reason. If you try, like, again, if you try and do it everything, like, lift this boulder up, I'm gonna, like, be so hard, like, no, start with picking up like a little weight there, and getting that and letting it grow, and getting the willpower and the intention to strengthen. So yeah, really really good at hitting that home. I did have a question as it popped up there. Is that you mentioned waking up with some pep and some energy, and I know that is a challenge, like, for probably for most people, is like, they like that initial, like, oh, let me get out of bed, let me hit the snooze, right? um is there any type of, and I had one, but I wanted to ask you, is there any type of, like, hack or ways that you can bring that about, so you are, like, even if you're dragging, like, there are ways to get you going at that first initial wake up?
Yeah, my hack, unfortunately, is not universal. But what I think of is, how can I make my sons excited? right? About waking up and getting through the day and getting ready for school and stuff like that. So if I'm like saying, get up, wake
Yeah.
up, you know what I mean? Then,
Breakfast.
yeah, then it's not gonna work. So, but if I'm like, hey, Hunter, you got swimming today. You love swimming. You're ready to swim, man. Or Kieran, you're finishing that art project that you were telling me about in class today. Today's the day that you finish it. Come on, let's get up. Are you ready? Then I noticed that not only am I kind of excited, just by acting excited, like feigning excitement puts me in an excited state, right? But it also has a good effect on the boys. They, instead of like kind of slumping their shoulders and maybe even whining or crying a little bit and fighting it, they are all of a sudden like, what's happening? And then they start to like, it starts to hit them, and they start to get excited, and it makes my job easier too, because they're kind of in bed, they're showering themselves, they're kind of saying, Dad, come on, like throwing on their shoes and getting ready. So for me, that's
Mm.
something that really works. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't have kids, then what about you, Tony? You said you
Yeah.
had an idea?
To help you out. Well, one I heard that's kind of like it makes sense and just putting your alarm clock somewhere where you have to get out of bed, like across the room. So when it goes
Yeah,
off, you have to stand up to shut it off, right?
yeah,
Or else it's just gonna keep going. So it's like that. Just that initial like standing up helps the body like, all right, I'm awake now, kind of deal. And another one is kind of, I guess, more mental. Thought about it is setting the intention prior to going to sleep.
mm,
Tomorrow
that's
will
good.
be a great day. I'm so excited about tomorrow, and if there's like something specific, I'm so
Yeah,
excited about X, Y, Z. But just saying those words to you is like I'm so supercharged to wake up tomorrow. I'm supercharged to get the day going with excitement. And like your brain does amazing things when you sleep, man. So it's like just try that out for a week and see. Like I'm
yeah.
it just came to me, so I'm gonna start trying that out tonight and
That's cool, man.
seeing what happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of doing one of those trick things. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, maybe like I like how you mentioned make it specific. Like if maybe you can write something down right before you go to bed, like um, tomorrow or today, or just maybe I'm excited about doing this today, and then putting it up somewhere, like just sticking it on the wall, so that when you wake up, that's what you see, and then you can remember, all right, cool, and then like even if you're not feeling it, then you can start to internalize that and kind of engendering that excitement and just feigning the excitement. I think that again, your brain can't really tell the difference. Your body can't tell the difference of why your brain's feeling excited, and then your body
Yeah,
will start to kind of act accordingly. So that's a really good idea. I like that, Tony.
yeah.
Um,
As you were saying, I was
and,
like, what are some?
yeah, just that, like I like to go. It makes me think about the analogy you made with like how we're kind of creating our own avatar with this game
Mm,
of life, and I think a lot of times people, when they're trying to change habits or something like that, and they're it's difficult, it's hard, they put themselves at a disadvantage by saying, oh well, I can't do this, or that's not me, or I'm not good enough for whatever, and that's something that can keep you in a rut, that kind of mental string, right? Sometimes you think you want to change, you know that you should change, and you fail, or it's difficult, and you give up, and then you just use that line of thinking and that keeps you on. But by imagining yourself, taking on different progressively challenging levels in a video game, if you can think of yourself as a video game hero, create this avatar, you can say, oh, I'm not a morning person, but Super Joe is, or whatever, your video game, or I can't do this, but you know, Tony, amazing Tony can, right? And then
yeah,
whatever video game avatar you set up, that can help you, and then you can say, okay, I'm in my amazing mode. And again, going back to the meditation or whatever skill you're struggling to do, like focus. You know, like, oh, I can't focus. I'm not good at meditation, or I always get distracted. But this is a skill that is going to make my character stronger. You know, video game. And so this is an investment, and this is the reward. You know, like I spend this time and I've earned this amount of skill points for the amount of time that I'm invested in this character. And so if you're having a hard time investing in yourself, imagine investing in your player for that, so that you can kind of be, that you have the skill points to take on the next challenge. And I think that if that can help you with negative lines of thinking, or giving up when you feel it is difficult, or that you're not capable. Is that maybe you're not capable, but your character, the person that you're investing in, is going to be capable, because you're giving them this time. And that becomes a reward in and of itself, I think, too. You know,
Yes.
like, oh man, I beat this challenge, or I spent this much time investing in these skill points for my character, and I'm going to get better I'm getting better at mastering this challenge, this level, this world, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. You got to see yourself as someone who can overcome where they're at, and go on to the next level. That's really important there. And we touched about it on it at the beginning of this episode, is like not having that focus on, like, I gotta save the princess, I gotta save the princess, I gotta save the princess, just focusing on the next thing, and really enjoying the journey. Like, you know let's say you're trying to, like, really uh, do well with the health, but then you have bad day, or it's like, I ate 3 slices of pizza and drank soda and everything. It's like, all right, well, now you feel pretty crappy about it. That's just like you just fell down the pit once. It doesn't mean, like, let's start the board over, and then let's keep going. It's not like, all right, now you can't all skill that you acquired. You got to go back to the beginning. It's just like whatever level you're at. All right, so you fell down the hole. All right, so let's go back to the beginning of this board, and let's try it again. The princess is
Yeah,
still there. She's still. Um, so really having that focus, and I know we've definitely touched upon that before, and it's really important there. Yeah, one of the things that we mentioned about meditation, it can be hard, is another thing to tie in with that. If you're having issue, like learning some breathing skills and taking deep breaths, and that's going to help you even when you're not trying to meditate, is learning, like, just maybe having a timer go off, and a few times a day you just go to an area, or just even where you're at, take a 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths, and just allow that to sink in there throughout the day, is a really one of those core habits that you can. Doesn't take much ever. It doesn't take much skill. Setting a alarm to go off once an hour, or every other hour, whatever it be for your situation, and just breathing, deep
yeah,
breathing, couple minutes. I just got the smartwatch over here for Christmas, and one of the features
nice.
on there is you set up a 5 minute. I can't get that in there.
Mhm.
Whatever, 5 minute relaxed timer, where it's you just go to that, and it's all you're doing is breathing for 5 minutes, and it kind of like measures your breath. But yeah, I think that's one of those things that it's simple, it's easy, and it's very, really effective for you.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think, starting off small, starting off easy, and again, everyone's kind of at a different area, so yourself, and we say this almost every episode, like, know thyself is going to be one of the main things here, and being able to go from that point and work on things that are going to help you to grow in each one of these areas and gain those skill sets.
yeah,
Do you have any other ones that came up as we were discussing, Joe, or we're ready to kind of
yeah.
hop on that journey there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, the list is endless, and it's going to be difficult to touch upon everything that everybody needs to work on. I think that people know where they need to grow, whether it be with their anger issues or their kind of their own self dialogue, or drinking, or exercise, or focus, or confidence. Like you know where you're at, your feelings of self worth. There's I think the most important thing is just taking stock, doing that self-diagnostic test. Go back and watch the episodes and actually do these things, and write them down, and keep a list.
Mm.
Journaling should be for a lot of people's number one level, if you haven't been doing that, because that's going to keep stock for you, right? If you can incorporate that habit. But I think the important thing to know is your approach. I think that's the important. Your approach to changing yourself shouldn't be all or nothing. It should be a lifestyle change. Be wary of setting specific like numbers for your goals. Like, I'm going to run 5 miles every day, or I'm going to lose 10 pounds of weight. Because those things are going to magnify the difference, and your brain's going to hone in on that, and that's going to work against you. But make it like, I'm going to live a healthier lifestyle, or I'm going to make better eating habits. That's a lot easier for you to accomplish, and you're setting yourself up, and you can start to build that momentum. Think of it
Yeah.
as like, just a save point. So you don't always have to beat each level every day. But if you kind of work, and you do something, then you're closer to the end point than you were at the beginning. But if you're too afraid that you don't have enough time to invest to get to that flag every day, then you're not going to do anything, and that's what we want to avoid. But if you say, look, I'm gonna spend some time in the day, doing
Save
something
pointed.
fit. I'm gonna go for a walk, and then that's like kind of going there, and then you can save it, and you've made progress, right? Or I'm gonna spend some time. I'm gonna say something nice to somebody today. It doesn't say, you don't have to set certain numbers. Just make some sort of progress, and save that point, and then you're already working. You're 2 steps closer to your goal, rather than not going anywhere. That's
Yeah.
something else. And if you fall down the hole, or if you get killed by a goblin, don't give
Oh,
up. You know, time that. Now you know that you got to time that jump, or maybe there's a brick that you can use for leverage, or there's a different path. Goblins in Zelda, I'm thinking. Zelda, you can go to the left, and you get ambushed by goblins. But if you go to the right and go up, and then go to the left, then your path's going to be a lot easier. And there's no reason not to do that. There's no reason to try to bump head rush the goblins that are going to kill you in 2 seconds, right? So, and yeah, when you do feel down, think of it. I like that analogy. Think of it. Don't think of yourself as somebody who's not capable. Just think of it as a challenge, or a goblin, or a Goomba that you're going to kick their ass, right? So, if you kind of externalize your challenges, then you can empower yourself to hit them more head on moving forward.
yeah.
But
You
yeah,
you
Tony,
see
do you have anything else you want to say before we kind of go on to our next topic?
I was gonna say, if you can like picture in your mind every negative thought as like a turtle shell coming at you, and like what do you gonna do to fend off that turtle shell, right? Like jump on it or hop over it, like just make that kind of analogy, and like I'm not just gonna stand here and let all these turtle shells hit me, constantly. That's not gonna help out. It's like I'm gonna find a way, hop over it. Like I just gotta recognize that it's just one turtle shell or two or three or whatever turtle shells coming at me. I can get past this because I am Superman. Um, and really having that mindset there. So yeah, guys, um, you know, think about it for yourselves. Look at each one. Kind of maybe ask yourselves like questions. Curiosity is key along the journey as you go, and discovering what works best for you. But laying down one of the main points we want to get across is laying down core habits that you can build upon. Not trying to get everything going right off the beginning, but laying a few fundamentals down that you can expand and grow and that are really going to help you with becoming the person you want to be that needs to grow along the path to get to the greater good there. Yeah, so there you go. Until next time, friends. Well,
Yeah.
if you have other ideas,
Yeah,
sure
write them in the comments. I think we should challenge our viewers to lay out their level 1 world 1. You know, take stock of all your habits and choose your level 1 challenge that you're going to accomplish. And this doesn't happen in a day, folks. Work on it over the next week. Don't try to go to level 2 until you've mastered level 1. Maybe you beat it, but you did it clumsily. You're not ready for level 2. Go back and do it again. Keep doing it every day until you feel confident that you got this down. And then we'll talk about level 2. We do know that changing your life is difficult because everybody has a life outside of, you know, that they're already living. They have people that are dependent on them, or job or kids or family or whatever. And there's a lot of decisions that we have to make going throughout the day that can kind of, it can seem impossible to work on ourselves. So don't worry though, because Tony and I have been developing some sort of hacks with these overwhelming decisions that we face every day, and we're gonna tackle that in our next episode, right, Tony? That's gonna be a good one. So yeah.
Oh yeah. So good job, Joe. Way to jump in and challenge the viewers. That's yeah. And ask, like I just mentioned, ask yourself questions like, you know, how can I cultivate more focus, you know, every day, and see what you come up with. You know, how can I what are some simple things I could do to improve my health? You know, like, and just questions are really gonna lead you to better answers there, and trying it out and seeing what works. Trial and error. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Can't wait to see some of those World 1, Level 1 comments that you guys have. And until next time, friends, same blonde hair, black hair, same two twins. Thank you for coming. Your host for the evening, Tony and Joe. Love you, bro. Good night.
You too, man. Peace.